Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. So I guess I should say good morning to some of you. It's wonderful to have you all with us just a few days before April 10th. We're thrilled to have you spend a little bit of time with us wherever you may be, to hopefully hear just a little bit more about St. Andrews and to ask any remaining questions that you have. I hope that you have had a wonderful time over the course of the fall, and of course over this last month, getting to know St. Andrews and really thinking about whether or not this is the place where you would like to spend the next 2, 3, or 4 years and call us your home away from home. As I've seen a lot of you on Zoom, my name is Heather Daly. I'm the Dean of Admission and Financial Aid, and I'm thrilled to be joined by our Head of School, Joy McGrath, our Associate Head of School, Ramirez, and our Dean of Students, Will Robinson. We're going to get started, as we know that at this point in time, you are probably zoomed out, but we are thrilled to have you here with us and happy to be able to answer your final questions. So Joy, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thanks, Heather. Hi, everybody. It's so good to see you all this evening or this morning, depending on where you are. I am so excited about the next few days and hearing from so many of you. We have loved having so many of you on campus for our 2 visit back days. It has been such a wonderful thing to meet all of the students that we've admitted and their families, parents and siblings and others. And we're really, our community is still really reverberating from those visit back days. And we've been really excited about the number of you who've already decided to come to St. Andrews. We are so excited about the incoming class of 2026, as well as the new members of 2025 and 2024 who visited us and who've decided to join us. And so the school for next year already is taking shape. And I can already envision the ways that so many of you will change St. Andrews and the ways that St. Andrews will change you. I know that you're facing a really big decision. And so some of you may have some more questions, which we'd be really happy to answer. And I just wanted to give my colleagues, Anna and Will, a moment to introduce themselves as well before we get started.
Thank you, Joy. If you haven't met me before, I am Anna Ramirez, and I'm so excited, just like Ms. McGrath said, to have met many of you if you were here for Visit Back Day. But what I'm most excited about is really forming our next generation of our St. Andrews family. And so that is what excites me the most, having students, getting to know them, teaching them, sitting with them at family meals, supporting them at all their activities, sports, theater, clubs, and so on. So really happy to answer any questions, but welcome. And again, hopefully we'll be family members very soon. Will.
Hello, everyone. My name is Will Robinson. I'm the Dean of Student Life here. I teach history, coach soccer, and have worn a few other hats during my 12 years now here at St. Andrews. I'm an alum of the school. I graduated in 1997. And I also married an alum of the school for many, many reasons, including what I just mentioned. St. Andrews absolutely changed my life, and I'm just so excited at the possibility of you all joining us, and this idea that I know you have this huge decision on your plate right now, if you haven't already decided. I'm really excited to sort of answer your questions about that and help you make that decision and what's best for you. So thanks so much for being here.
Thank you so much, everyone. So we would love the opportunity to see what questions you all may have. And so if you'd like to put those in the chat, we'd be happy to tackle those. At this moment in time, we know that for those of you who have not decided, and for those of you who are, that there may be some questions that you have about what the opportunity at St. Andrews looks like. So whether those are academic in nature, whether those have to do with residential life, or sort of nitty-gritty details about the health center, or whatever those may be. We are here to be able to answer those questions for you and to speak to you about what this experience might look like for you. So please feel free to put those in the chat, or certainly in the Q&A, and we'd be happy to answer those. One question that I see that I'd love to be able to address actually is something that we get asked quite frequently, and that actually has to do with how we do our roommate pairings. And so I don't know, Will, if you wouldn't mind speaking about that, just in terms of thinking about the thought process that goes into that and what that typically looks like for students.
Yeah, I think one of the great things that I like to do at the beginning of every school year is walk through the dorms and look on the doors of the dorm rooms and see the names of all of the students and where they're from. And it's just very cool to me to see. Sometimes you have triples and you have a student from California, a student from New York, and then a student from Honduras. And they're all living together, behind that door, which I just think is amazing. So I know the admissions team does a great job putting people together that they think would be both sort of compatible, but also sort of would help people sort of stretch in terms of like what they're comfortable with or what they're used to. That's what going to boarding school is about. So I think they do an amazing job with that. We don't have many or really any requests for sort of room changes. It's just not really, it's something that we have done in the past, but it's not something that we expect to do. If there are conflicts in rooms, it's an incredible learning opportunity. And that's how we treat it. And we move through that because we want students at a very young age to learn how to manage, to live with people who aren't exactly a perfect fit for them. As they go off into the world, they're going to encounter a lot of people like that. So, really kudos to the admissions team for all the great work that they do at the beginning. And I think they do a pretty good job. I know that they do a great job. So.
Thank you, Will. And Anna, I'm just wondering if you wouldn't mind answering this question related to our international students and what the support for international students looks like as members of our community.
Absolutely. Thank you, Heather, for that question. As an international person myself, this comes close to heart. We have an organization, a club called International House. And International House is, there are two co-leaders, usually seniors, and a group of faculty members who are here for you. We have meetings quite often. Obviously, some of them involve food, but it's really to talk about at the beginning, really the transition, how you are adjusting to your new classes, to your teachers, to the expectations, what questions you may have, that so that you have a community, a micro community of this community to really help you with any questions, any challenges, to reach out for help. And that really follows the rest of the year as well. We try to celebrate, our country's different celebrations and also share it with the rest of the community. And you will find that before pretty much almost, except for our athletes, will be invited to campus before. Most of the students, we have a program for new international students, and you will have the opportunity to come here a few days before to really meet other international students and other faculty members, and to, if you haven't had a chance to be here on campus, to really have a taste of campus, as well as conversations about class style. And there's always a famous trip to buy a few other things that you might need for your room and such, but that is really the role and an important club of us, which is International House.
Thank you so much. And this is a great question, looks like from Maggie. And I might extend this a little bit. So her question is, can you tell me something about the breakfast at school? And actually, I actually love this question. I might have Ms. McGrath answer that because she has confessed that breakfast was her favorite meal of the day. But perhaps you could also extend that to meals in general at school.
I would happily do that. Thank you so much. I love this question because breakfast is my favorite meal of the day. And if you become a student at St. Andrews, you will almost always see me at breakfast sign-in, which happens most days between 7:40 and 8:20 in the morning. And Dr. Walsh and Mr. Duffy and Mr. Hayes, and there's sort of a number of us who are typically there at breakfast. And we always have a hot breakfast available on weekdays. So that'll be things like eggs and oatmeal and all the fixings, and there'll be sausage and bacon and things. And then there's always, I would say, 4 or 5 different kinds of fruit cut up and yogurt, and they make house-made granola in our dining hall. And there are always bagels and lots of things to put on bagels. So there's really a variety of breakfast options. And I'm a person who, when I was a kid, we always had breakfast. But then when I came to St. Andrews, I loved breakfast. And it was a habit I developed at St. Andrews that really helped me in college. I think I was in the dining hall every morning, believe it or not, eating breakfast in the school dining hall by 7:30 every morning in college. And, what you find in life is that there are a group of people who like to go to breakfast. And if you're one of those people, it becomes kind of a place where you get work done and discuss the events of the day. There are always newspapers around and things like that. And it's a great way to start the day. And so the rest of the meals, to Ms. Daly's point, are really important. Food is not something that we just sort of wave our hands at as a necessity to get through life. It is a major building block of community at St. Andrews. And so most weekdays we have a family style meal. Wednesday, the family style meal takes place in the evenings. So those are where our students, underformed students, take turns being waiter and assistant. We have conversations around the table. Ms. Ramirez and Mr. Miller's table is next to my table with Dr. Hyde. Mr. Robinson's right down the way. And there are very active conversations happening at those family meals. And then dinner, except for Wednesdays, is typically also a cafeteria style. And you'll have lots of different kinds of stations. There might be a burrito bar or a kind of build your own taco salad. We have a student from Ukraine. So we recently had a cafeteria meal with a station that had Ukrainian food like borscht and dumplings from Ukraine and various dishes. So it's also a way that we share our cultures from home as part of the way we build our community at the school. And so I'm actually pretty passionate about food just as a person, and I love how that carryover happens and translates into our culture at the school too. So thanks for asking that.
And just to add another visual to that, I mean, Heather and I were just in the dining hall, and if you walk through the dining hall, it was filled with students who had already cleaned up after themselves from dinner and then had sat back down at the table, and they were just together. And you just like, how many students can you pack at a table meant for 10 people? There's some tables that had 12 to 14 at them, and they're probably still there now. And that's when we talk about building community, just that connection with each other. It was a great thing to see just 25 minutes ago.
Yeah. The dining room is definitely, I would say, one of the hearts of the school. Even during free blocks, you'll see students who will come and, take a space at the end of the table, doing some work, sipping some tea, and it's sort of a hub from one end of our academic building to another. So a lot of activity takes place in the dining hall, including ping pong. Especially on the weekends, they'll set up paddles and nets. And just the other day, we had a little bit of a sleep in, and there was a student when I popped into my office who was there looking for paddles and ping pong balls, and I was able to provide those and send him on his way, which was terrific. So anyway, so I think our next question actually has to do with the course selection process and how we manage that. And I know that for those of you who are thinking about this opportunity and contemplating what your academic course load looks like for next year, this is a question that we get a lot. And we'll begin very soon after this enrollment process is finished. So I would say that by May 1st, we'll be sending out those course selection forms and instructions to students. But I don't know if any of you would like to talk a little bit about how that works and how students go through the process of course placement.
Anna, do you want to take that one?
Sure, I can add to that. So you will find, and I know you've received a lot of, already literature about all of our different courses. And, the admissions for you as new students will guide you through what are the necessary courses you have to take depending on where you enter. You will also find that for languages and for math, you will have a placement exam that is for languages. If you are taking a language or you will continue a language, obviously, if you're starting a new language, you don't have to take that placement exam. And over the course of the summer, I know that my colleagues, Mrs. Tower and Mrs. Hurd and Mrs. Porch are available so that if there are any questions and they're the faculty and staff that work directly with the academic part of the school. And usually at the beginning of the school, once there's about, like 2 weeks or so, if there are any classes, especially the ones that like with language or sometimes with math, that you feel that you were placed at a level that was maybe too high or maybe too low, depending, they're always, that's where your advisor, the importance of your advisor comes in. This is one of your people amongst many that that you will communicate with about that particular class, and obviously also with the 3 other teachers that I mentioned. So you will have plenty of adults via email over before you arrive on campus, and once you arrive on campus in person, to help you and guide you through all of that. But again, feel free to email us and reach us out if there are any questions. But yeah, they are incredible classes, and I'm one to teach a lot of freshmen, and so it's always a great opportunity for me to get to know you, but also to get you really challenged in a safe and fun way as well.
I am, so as Anna said, advisors are very important to the process, especially so after you matriculate to St. Andrews and you're moving from form to form. I'm actually meeting with an advisee as soon as this webinar is over to go over course selection for his senior year. And to me, that is we've been doing this, advisors have been doing this for the last few days this week. To me, it's just an exciting time to sit down with a student and talk to them about what they're interested in, what's going to ignite them, which teachers are they feeling like they would really love to take before they graduate from St. Andrews. So it's one of those moments where we can be really busy here, and we're working hard and we're learning a lot and we're connecting with each other. It's just to take a moment to sit and really start to reflect about who you are as a learner and the kinds of topics, issues, subjects that you're really particularly interested in. So I can nerd out on that, actually, which I really love.
Thank you. I think a follow-up question to this perhaps is related to our students who join us after sophomore and junior year, particularly in relation to course placement. And I would say that sometimes this actually also pertains to students who may be particularly advanced in a language or mathematics, regardless of the grade in which they may be entering. And so, within the context of that, I think one of the really wonderful things about St. Andrews is that we are quite flexible. And I do think we have a broad, for a school our size, a really broad array and a depth of course offerings for students. The way that placement process works, we do have students every year who will join us, and in some way or another, perhaps at times they might be particularly advanced in their language preparation. And so ultimately, if the result of that placement test would put them in level 3 or 4 of a language, we have the capacity to be able to do that. The same thing is true if a student joins us. And while many of our incoming third form students are heading into geometry, our geometry/algebra 2 class, there are those who enter pre-calculus and even those who come in at the calculus level. And the nice piece with that is I do think that we have the capacity to grow with students and to be able to allow them that 4-year culminating experience within the context of our academic disciplines. Another question that I see here is actually, I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but sort of what does happen if a student gets sick or needs to go to the doctors? And I wouldn't, if someone is able to perhaps talk a little bit about that, I think that's something that individuals would love to hear a little bit more about.
I think probably any of us could talk about that because from time to time, every student's going to become sick or need to visit the emergency room for some little reason or another. And that's just very normal. We have a wonderful health center here on campus that's fully staffed by nurses 24/7 every single day that school's in session. And they actually work throughout the summer with families on things like immunizations and preparing for students who have health needs like allergies or things of that nature. So we have just a wonderful team that's led by Annette Rickle, who actually happens to be a 1987 alumna of St. Andrews. And so she leads that group of wonderful nurses. And we do have 2 nurses at least on duty at all times of the day and night. And so they facilitate not just kind of care here on campus, but and things like the distribution of medicines, or if you have a headache and need something for a headache or so forth, the nurses take care of that here. And of course, have had a big role keeping us all healthy with COVID the last 2 years. But in addition to that, routinely students have just routine doctor's appointments, and the nurses make sure that students get to those doctor appointments with specialists or other providers in the local area. We're also really fortunate that one of the greatest children's hospitals, research hospitals in the United States is actually at AI DuPont Nemours in Wilmington, and it is an all children's facility. And so that is our go-to emergency room, which only serves patients 18 and under. And they have numerous specialists that we take advantage of there as well. And I guess the other thing I would say that supplementing all of that very great professional medical care, which includes a great mental health team, we also have what I would call like mom and dad care that all of us give to our advisees and students all the time. If I would be surprised to learn that there was a student at St. Andrews who needed a bowl of chicken soup or a glass of orange juice, who didn't get one around a kitchen table somewhere on this campus when it was needed, or a reminder just to hydrate and go to bed early, which is sometimes what you need to do too. So that kind of, we do pay attention in that way to the way a family does to just your wellness and whatever it is you need to stay healthy and be your best.
Thank you. I see another question here about the dress code. And so I don't know if someone might want to talk a little bit about what dress code at St. Andrews looks like.
I actually could listen to Joy talk about the dress code a lot, because I love the way that you put it, Joy. I mean, I love, what we want is for students to grow into adults who know what to wear in different situations. That's the philosophy behind it. Am I Am I right on this?
Yeah.
Joel?
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
it's part of
so-
getting ready for every day. It's along the lines of my enthusiasm for breakfast. It's my enthusiasm for the dress code. And these are not coincidentally things that kind of happen when you're getting up and getting going the day, and it's a mindset thing. And so we just ask for a kind of respectful attire for the learning environment, which is we do have a gender neutral dress code, which is just that anybody who's wearing pants or trousers should be wearing a cardigan or a jacket. Some people wear ties, some people don't wear ties. That's optional. People may do a little bit more getting dressed up for chapel, for example, which makes sense, right? Because you wouldn't wear an extremely casual outfit to a house of worship of any kind, of course. And so, those are just the guidelines on the weekends and not during class hours. It's, just clothes basically in good repair, whatever they are. And of course, there are plenty of times when we're wearing different things like our sports clothes and athletics gear, or we're swimming in the pond and we're wearing bathing suits or whatever it is. That it's, as Mr. Robinson said, the idea is just to be dressed appropriately for whatever it is we're doing. And I think for me, just getting dressed in the morning for class is a really important ritual and practice for all of us as a community, at just a mutual respect and respecting ourselves too.
I'm gonna add, and you'll find out if you come to St. Andrews that one of the most favorite things on the weekends is to go to a place that we call here on campus the Stag, and that is a place where students can buy clothing, and a lot of this clothing come from alums or members of the community, other members of the community, and you can buy amazing clothing for $1 or $2. So there's great opportunity to change your wardrobe here and there once in a while, and students themselves run it, whether it's on a little bit in the afternoon on a Saturday or on a Sunday. And then also, it's super cool, Maggie. Absolutely, I agree with you. And then the other really cool thing that you'll find out and you'll be part of, it's called Project Zero. And Mrs. Hansel is the brilliant mind behind this now tradition, because we've done it for a few years now. That part of, you will find that as a student, you accumulate a lot of things. You have to be careful with that, right? Because you have to take things home. And there's a little bit of storage for the summer, but not a lot of storage. So one of the things that we like to do in thinking about sustainability as well is not to throw away what we, what we don't need or want, because that could be a treasure for somebody else. So we have this whole project at the end of the school year where you can donate your things, and you as a student can and they will be all located in one central space, and you can, if you need it, for example, for next year, something that you saw, you can certainly take it, and it might have come from obviously another peer, but also all of those articles, and it could be not just clothing but other things as well. We also donate to our shelters, the women and men shelters in both Middletown and Wilmington. So that's another opportunity where you can give some of your items, but also pick some of the items you want to, but most importantly that things are not just being thrown away but actually repurposed. So thank you.
That's great. And speaking of weekends, I think that is another question that we have. I'm wondering if perhaps, Will, you might speak about what a typical weekend looks like for students.
Man, so like most things at St. Andrews, actually, the weekends are absolutely student-led and student-driven. Really looking forward to this weekend. The senior class is putting on a casino night for the whole school. We have a big tent out on the front lawn, and we're going to do our kind of like a Casino Royale edition of Casino Night. The seniors will everyone's going to get thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars that they get to spend.
Fake dollars.
During Casino Night, there's going to be a red carpet. There's going to be apparently there's a a wedding chapel, which is that's the first time I've ever heard of at casino night. So in case students want to get married at the wedding chapel, so it's I'm excited, and the seniors are really fired up and working very, very hard to put that on for the rest of the school. So usually, sort of every Saturday night, there's something like that. There's sort of an event that the students put on. But then we'll also have lots of opportunities for students who just want to sort of hang out in the main common room and do puzzles, or just like chill out and watch a movie. On Sundays and Sunday afternoons, we'll sleep in on Sunday. We'll all come together for chapel on Sunday at 11, most Sundays, and then in the afternoon again, it's a time to sort of decompress a little bit. In recent years, I've tried to encourage the students to just relax a little bit more on the weekends, to really rest and recuperate. But we'll have off-campus trips to places like the mall. We'll have teachers who will take students to Bombay Hook to go biking, or I think it was skateboarding recently, around Bombay Hook National Wildlife Refuge, which is about 20 minutes south of here. Is one of the great bird migratory areas on the East Coast, and is beautiful. So really just an opportunity. Usually I really want students to relax more on the weekends, but they love being here and they love being with each other so much that they expend an enormous amount of energy just like having fun. So that's I'm not sure if I walked you through.
No, that's great.
Weekend in chronological order like I intended to at the beginning, but happy to answer any follow-up questions about that.
And I would add really quickly also that you will find that whether it's one of your teachers or your advisor or a coach who lives on campus, we are often also, because we are here and we want to get to know you, with our families, if we have families, but we invite groups of students, whether it's for, a baking session or bread making or, just a dinner, or to provide a space for students to cook their own dinner or their own food. So those are other opportunities, or play board games or have a bonfire. So there's a lot of opportunity on campus that is not necessarily super programmed in the big event, but like Mr. Robinson was saying, if you want a little bit of time for yourself or just with a smaller group of people, but also it's so important to feel like, to go into a home, because a home is not the same as your room in the dorm, right? To know that our homes are here, your homes as well.
And I think just to put one more point on that, Gibson had asked in the chat if there are dances, and there are, on a number of weekends, different dances that our student weekend activities group, which is called SWAG, that is a group of students from all grade levels that helps to plan the weekend activities. There are cultural events. So for example, a couple of weekends ago, actually, Ms. McGrath took a group of students up to the Brandywine Art Museum. Sometimes there will be theater productions either in town or elsewhere in places like Philadelphia. I think there's a lot of creativity that goes into those pieces. Earlier this year, we had a local farm bring a petting zoo onto campus. Just thinking back to that moment, there have been a lot of really wonderful things that I think that group has put on for the rest of their peers, which I think is wonderful. I think it looks like the questions are slowing down, but I think we probably have time for one more if people would like to ask that. But in the meantime, perhaps I will ask just this one additional question. What is your favorite tradition at St. Andrews? And maybe I'll ask for each of you to tell us what your favorite tradition is, as we're waiting for that one more class to come in. And actually, I see it right now, so please.
I can start really quickly. Perhaps my favorite tradition, or one of my favorite traditions, is the square dance. And that happens on the very first day when you arrive on opening day. and it's really a wonderful representation of what community is. We gather together, we're outside, we're dancing, the Dizzy Dough, and it's a way to really get to know people in your little group, peers, teachers, faculty children, faculty spouses that might not be teachers. Is really a beautiful way to start the year together. And that's perhaps my favorite tradition.
Great. How about you, Will?
Man, I'm gonna cheat. I actually think my favorite tradition is this idea. I tell students all the time that St. Andrews is going to be what they want it to be, what they make of it. And that I really feel like our jobs as faculty are just, outside of the classes, of course, is just to support them in those efforts. So there's been a lot of actually new traditions that have come up over the years. Recently, I think it was last year, we had a sketch comedy club that put on a full, they called it St. Andrews sort of Saturday Night Live, and it was an awesome sort of live comedy show put on by the students. It was hilarious. That's hard to do. But they worked really hard on this, and they put it out, and the community supported them, and we had a huge sort of after party afterwards that included a sort of a big cake, a big sheet cake for the cast and crew to celebrate. So it's one of the things I most love about St. Andrews is that we have so many different people coming here from so many different places and different perspectives, and we want you to bring the things that you love and want to do, and we support you in those efforts. So it's kind of a cheating answer, but it's what I love. And it's when I meet students and they say, do you have this club or do you have that? The answer is sort of, I'd love to help you do that. If we don't, a lot of times we do, but if we don't, love to help you do that. And instantaneously you become a leader. We have some students who are restarting our Ethos coffee shop. And they are going to run a coffee shop in the mornings here at St. Andrews. And I'm working with them on a business plan that has to be good and has to be, it actually has to be thought through. And they thought the first draft was like great. They didn't think it was a first draft. So we're on like draft 4 or 5 right now, but they made an announcement about it today at school meeting, and it's going to hopefully start on Monday. So it's really, St. Andrews is a place, it is what you make of it. And thankfully we have incredible students who make it an incredible place.
Thank you. And Joy, do you have a favorite tradition?
Yeah, it's hard to choose, but I have to say my tradition is very traditional, which is I do love our annual service of lessons and carols. And, I guess I've had many years. I've been going to lessons and carols on and off for, 32 years. And I guess I've had a lot of occasions to reflect on why I love it so much. But I think, having every single person in this community gathered in the chapel, which we do twice a week, is always very special. I think one of the things that's so special about St. Andrews is that we actually get every single person in the community in one room 8 times a week. We have 5 family style meals, school meeting, and 2 chapels every week. And that's really an incredible thing that we can all just look around and say, we're all here together. And there's a lot about lessons and carols that to love. There are amazing musical performances, singing, readings, incredible instrumental music moments. But I think the reason that, we have a public service first where a lot parents and friends can come, but then everyone leaves. And the second one, it's just all of us. And people may be doing many things in that service and appreciating many things in that service, but I always think of it as a great occasion and a very meaningful occasion for me to reflect on the nature and presence of gifts and miracles in our life. And I think that's a pretty incredible thing to be able to do together.
Thank you. So this is one of I see 2 questions, so we might try to do these very quickly. Talking about our switch to our schedule, which has longer classes, and the impact that this has had on teaching and learning, perhaps in pros and cons. So I don't know, Anna, if you'd like to talk a little bit about the schedule.
Absolutely. So yes, the schedule this year, which is our normal schedule, is 75-minute classes, and there are, there are some breaks in between, about 15 minutes. We try to do one in the morning, and if possible also in the afternoon. We have we are divided by 7 blocks, right? So every class will be 1 block, and most students will take 5 to 6 classes, so you potentially could have 1 to 2 blocks free. And in those blocks, as Ms. Daly said before, a lot of students are in the dining hall doing, work, or there's our beautiful library, or students may go back to their rooms and keep working to prepare, hopefully not for the next class, but for that next day's class, as we have also study hall. And sometimes, depending on how many classes you have, well, you can only have a maximum of 4 classes the next day, but if you're working on a long-term project or a paper, those are awesome opportunities to be working ahead in those longer assignments. And as Ms. McGrath says, we have breakfast in the morning, and it is required that you go and sign in. And I was just talking to a student today who was actually sleeping here at our house. She was a little sick, and she said that she loves, she's actually a freshman from California, and said that she loves breakfast because it really has helped her. She's not a morning person, but she said now by like 7:30, I get up, I get ready for classes, and then I go to breakfast, and I actually am getting the time to eat breakfast. I check in, and I actually sit with my friends and really set the tone for conversation, as Ms. McGrath was saying. So I loved that she said that's becoming one of her favorite traditions and structures for St. Andrews. And then you have your classes, and then after that you, and as Ms. McGrath said, also obviously we have sit-down meals, which is actually a wonderful way to get to know other students and other teachers. And then you have your sports or afternoon practices, whether sports or theater, and then after that you have free time, you have dinner, and then study hall from 8 to 10, and then at 10 o'clock is your opportunity to just come out of your rooms and have fun in your dorm common room. Often is gathering with food, or or board games of some sort, or just an interesting conversation, and then we brush and wash and then go to bed. So that's really your schedule from really for the academic week. And as Mr. Robinson said, on the weekends, you will have about once a month, you will have a Saturday class. Some other Saturdays you can sleep in. Other Saturdays we have programming. For example, when we celebrate Earth Day, so we have activities, or we just last weekend had an equity conference put together by students. So for some Saturdays, there will be some programming as well. And then after your last game or practice on Saturday, then the weekend is yours. A piece of advice, of unsolicited advice, is that it's really, really important to take time for yourself. Whether you're, love to be with people, or because you're with people all the time, but maybe you need, a little bit of time to, for yourself, whether it's to rest or to reflect. Beautiful areas to go for a walk by yourself, or find, a spot under a tree, and just like really take time for yourself, because that is also very, very important as it is to be with your peers and teachers.
Thank you.
Can I just say very briefly, when I heard that we were moving to 75-minute classes, I was like, oh my goodness, it feels like a long time. I mean, it seems like a long time on paper, but I teach, like I said, I teach in the US, I teach in the history department, I teach US history, I teach the young student from California who Anna so beautifully took in the other night, who was not feeling well. And those classes go by really fast. They ended up going by incredibly fast. I'm thinking about last week where we were studying Plessy versus Ferguson in my U.S. history course, and we got to the moment where I looked up at the clock and I realized and our discussion had just taken us to so many different places, and the students were just so sort of fired up, and the conversation continued as we went into the dining hall. So if we do our jobs well, which I know that we do, the classes actually are great, where you can really dive very deeply into topics, issues, problems, experiments. So it's been a gift, actually. It's been a real gift, and I've really appreciated it. So
thank you. That's tremendous. Well, I do want to be mindful of the time. It is 8:16 here in the evening at St. Andrews. Our final question that we had to do with whether there are student concerts. And I think one of the things that I love about St. Andrews, the incredible opportunities for the arts, even a full weekend that is dedicated to the arts each spring, that in a sense serves as our second parents' weekend of the year. And even today in school meeting, we had an incredible performance by one of our strings instrumentalists students. Our director of instrumental music, Dr. Geyersbach, has been really dedicated to helping to put instrumentalists in front of us at school meetings, our jazz band, our orchestra, so many different opportunities to get involved. The Andrians, the Knox and Tones, many opportunities to sort of hear from so many talented people and members of our community.
And student bands, which are awesome.
Yeah.
And then open mic nights, which happen a few times throughout the year, where students again organize those, and they're awesome, including on the first night of school.
Well, we know that we want you to join us at St. Andrews. And I hope that over the course of the time that you've come to learn about the school, that you are beginning to feel and see yourself at home here, and that you can recognize this as being a great fit for you. Over the course, we've got a thunderstorm going on in the background. I don't know if you can hear that. But with that, a very auspicious roll of thunder, perhaps Mother Nature is telling you St. Andrews is the place. But we just want to say thank you so much for joining us this evening. If there are additional questions that you have in these next couple of days, we hope that you will be in touch. We know that you have the ability to reach out. I know that Ms. McGrath has passed along her contact information, and obviously all of us in the admission office are happy to hear from you and to put you in touch with many members of our community. But we're very excited at the prospect of you joining us and becoming a St. Andrean next year. So thank you very much, and have a wonderful.
Thanks for being here, everyone. Have a great night.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Good night.
We hope we'll see you soon.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Yes.
Good night.